So this is Spooky Scary Skeleton Mage, and it is the first deck on this list of 5 for the best decks to try for the new expansion. So let's just jump into why this deck works. This deck generally wants to have 2 main win conditions. 1, hero power win conditions with the Wildfire, as well as Amplified Snow Flurry, Mordresh, and all the things that generally do well with hero powers. And now the new win condition, and the one that is the most fun, is Volatile Skeletons. And the idea at the end of the game is you want to play Kael'thas into Bran, into Kel'Thuzad. That is 9 mana, and it will double activate Kel'Thuzad's ability, and it will do a buttload of damage, especially if you have a lot of skeletons die throughout the game. The next one, which I personally don't recommend, is BS Druid, or Ramp Druid. And honestly, the reason why I don't know if I would recommend jumping into this one is I actually see it getting nerfed. And this is not just me being like, oh, Druid's too strong, wait. I generally think that this deck is insanely strong. I saw several different builds of it during the Theory Craft, and every single one of them was doing well. Like 50% of my games during the Theory Craft for 6 straight hours were against Druid. Just across the board, it seemed to be the strongest class, but I mean, obviously things might change as we go along, so we'll see what happens. But if you want to just get some quick wins right off the bat and you're okay with it being nerfed within the first 2 weeks, I would say Ramp Druid is amazing, and you don't even have to use this build necessarily. I just like the potential OTK with Sire Denathrius, again comboed with Bran to do like a buttload of damage, but you could definitely run one that revolves more around big minions or death rattles or any number of things. So Wildseed Hunter was the biggest surprise for me when I was doing my theory crafting stream, and the reason why is because it had really good early game and really good late game as well. And the mid game was a little bit lacking because your minions for a little bit would be dormant and you would kind of feel it, but when you had this much tempo early with 19 of your cards being 2 or less mana, you had enough pressure on the board to where those minions being dormant wasn't a big deal. Then those minions start to pop open, and then you get to the late game with so many win condition legendaries that would just close out a game. And yeah, this deck ended up doing really well for me. I went like 5-0 and then stopped playing it. So I mean, it was a really small sample size, but it felt like a really good deck. And if you like aggro, this is one of the better tempo decks that I played. Next is going to be Evolved Shaman. Everybody saw this one coming. This isn't even like a special build. This is just the build almost everybody was running. Yeah, you just run the 2 of the Convincing Disguises, 2 Muck Pools, 2 Primordial Waves, and then a Murloc package, so you have a little bit of tempo, and then whatever else you can throw in to just evolve minions. So you want the Crude Caretaker, you want the Maze Guide, you want the Twin Fin, so you can have 2 3-cost minions out on the board, and you want to use that to cheese out as much value as possible. Now, I'm not sure if we will end up seeing a more control style of this deck. Some people on Twitter were saying a more control evolve style could end up being good, so we will see. But this is the one that I think is best for now, tempo, and it was really fun. And the last deck on this list is going to be Imp Master Warlock. And just Zoo Imp Lock turned out to be really good. You could run this in several different ways. I saw Meaty use it in an OTK with the Phylactery, and you basically use the Imp Swarm as a way to set up the Phylactery, give everything a ton of death rattles, and kill your opponent. You could potentially just have it be Zoo. You could run it as a draw package in a control deck because you have the new draw card, Impending Catastrophe, that can draw you a ton of cards and cycle through your deck really quickly. And then you have some solid late game with the Imp King Rafam, as well as Sire Denathrius. I just think it's really good in this deck because, again, you're playing a ton of minions and it's kind of a Zoo style. I really think Sire Denathrius is going to be a great card, and you can use it in a lot of different classes, not to mention the fact that there are a lot of other decks you could probably use it in as well, like a more beast token tempo Druid, as well as a more like elemental or Murloc focused aggressive Shaman deck or Warlock deck. A whole bunch of things you could probably do with Sire Denathrius. That's why he's in 3 of the decks. And this list did not include everything. Obviously, we didn't have several of the classes on here. We didn't have Paladin, which I think Dude and Pure Paladin have a decent amount of potential. Priest, I don't think Thief Priest is going to be that good. Demon Hunter, the relics just seemed way too slow. Warrior, you know, it came off of like one of the biggest nerfs of any class ever, and it has been struggling to recover ever since. And I don't think that this expansion did anything to help it. Like, you could probably run an enraged tempo version of Warrior, and I could see it potentially working, but it wouldn't be as good as some of these other just better tempo decks like Imp Warlock or Wildseed Hunter. And then the last one, which I'm the most confused about, is going to be Rogue. Miracle Rogue, when it pops off and it does well, it feels really good, but there are a lot of times when it doesn't feel good, and it can also straight up lose to a little bit of weapon removal or taunts, which feels extremely bad. So play Rogue at your own risk. Play any of these decks at your own risk, to be honest. I mean, it's the start of a new expansion. Things will probably change extremely quickly. But if you want, these are the best decks to start off with, in my opinion, if you want to climb the ladder a little bit. And I would probably go with Imp Warlock, because I think it's one of the cheaper ones, or Evolve Shaman. You could probably take out a couple of these, like Cookie. You don't really need him, and you will probably do just fine. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys when I start making full-on videos of gameplay. So if you guys enjoyed, see you in the next one.